Hey everybody, I'm Ethan. Welcome to Lab Day. Today I am going to work on a stack of network equipment from the company Meter. Meter is network as a service. That is, they are delivering you networking, but they are doing it as a service. So everything you're getting from them is something that they are doing for you on the back end. You get the hardware, and then a lot of the services and so on that you think you'd have to configure are already configured for you on the box. Now, if you're a network engineer and you're going, that sounds horrible. No, it's a good thing. This is a good thing. You're getting a lot of the what I would call the tedious work of network engineering is out of the way. You still have access to the box. You can still make lots of configuration changes, monitoring, do the kind of things that you would expect to need to do as a network engineer. But Meter is making a whole lot of the life of network engineering, the typical day-to-day operational stuff that's kind of tedious. It's handled for you by them. That's the big idea here, network as a service. So let's get into it. Let's start by taking a look at the Meter website, because I want you to get an idea of what these services are that they offer. So here we go. Switch to the web page and let's scroll a bit to walk through the steps of what all they're offering you. So ISP procurement and installation, what it sounds like, they'll light up a circuit for you at a variety of sites and manage that process. Hardware provisioning, they are going to ship you a pre-provisioned box from the factory. You're going to plug it in and then you're going to adopt it. It's going to be a part of your network and you're going to manage all that from the cloud. Custom network design, if you need someone on site to help with Wi-Fi design, site surveys, they can deal with that for you. Hardware cabling installation, you got new carpet space that needs wires and needs APs and so on. Yep, they will deal with all of that for you. Configuration and testing, they're going to make sure the whole thing's working, of course. Network automation, so you don't have to do manual configuration of this thing yourself. And we're going to actually look at a stack. I've got a stack from them, and I'm going to show you how it was shipped to me pre-provisioned. Multi-site management, because of course you've got sites all over the place, and you can manage your Meter network on a per-site basis. And they'll map all of those sites into a nice physical map for you, and we'll have knowledge of your different physical premises and where it is that you've got your different Meter networks. Issue resolution, you can troubleshoot a whole bunch of different issues with things that are built into the UI. We should see some of those as we get into the UI in a minute here. And then you can do things like HA pairs of controllers if you need. There is LTE service built into the controller. So if your main link to the cloud goes down, Meter can still talk to that controller and help with troubleshooting and so on. And that's all part of this. There's a network operations center that Meter's providing, and they're helping you deal with your network, keep track of what's going on and fix the things that are broken. Automated updates, of course, one of the most tedious aspects of network engineering is operating system upgrades. Meter just handles all of this for you, and that means you've always got a secure operating system that is up to date running on your boxes. I mean, you give them the upgrade window because, right, you got maintenance windows and concerns and you can't go down at certain times, right? You can control that. That is part of this thing. But the big deal is it's automated, and you know it's going to work because they've already tested it. So they know that the operating system is going to work with your feature set, as opposed to the process of you got to test it in the lab, make sure it works with all the different checkbox things that you need to make sure that it works with. And then, of course, the final part of the offering here, lifecycle management. As your equipment ages out and there are new, more up-to-date versions of their hardware, and they make all their own hardware at Meter, they're going to ship you new stuff. And that's not a buy thing. It's not a price thing. That's just part of the offering with your network as a service from Meter. Okay, let's take a look at the main interface now and begin to walk through what it's like as a network engineer to interact with the Meter offering. This is your dashboard. This is where you live when you're managing a Meter network. And of course, this is an as-a-service product, and this interface lives in the cloud. You can get at it from anywhere, authenticate, and off you go. You're able to manage your Meter network. Meter in their eval kit, the same one that you would get. This is what they shipped me. They shipped me a switch, MDF01. They shipped me a PDU, that is an intelligent power strip where they can remotely control the power plugs on and off to help power cycle devices from their NOC if they needed to. Primary is the controller. This is the security device. It's where the routing happens. It's where your policy lives and so on. And then AP01 is a wireless access point. Let's walk through these. So the security appliance here, this is called a primary. I just wanted to quickly scroll and kind of show you what we got. You got a visual representation of what's going on here. And you have a quick sense of what this device looks like, what the uplinks are, where things are going. It knows what's plugged in where, because LLDP, of course, that functionality exists as you might expect. MDF01, the switch, it's a switch and it does switch things just like you would expect. So we can find out things about, spanning tree, for example, what's connected to what? Again, LLDP. What kind of transfer rate we're getting through the switch, all the things that you would anticipate seeing. So if you're into VLANs, all the VLAN stuff you would want to see is there. For example, port 1 here is in trunk mode. It's native VLAN. That is, the untagged traffic is going to be in the management VLAN, VLAN 1. Port 3, I put in access mode, and its VLAN is management 1, and you can control on the trunk ports what the allowed VLANs are. Again, I'm not going to take you through every feature in here. I just want you to get a sense of what this interface is like. These are the kind of things that you could expect to see. And if you're like, show me the command line. Yeah, there isn't one. There is a way you can interact with text, and we're going to get to that in a bit. It's called command, but there is no, like, if you're like, I love my CLI, this is your meter interface. It's graphical, and you go do it through the web. Access point. So access point is the kind of things you would, again, expect to see. You've got SSIDs. It's going to tell you things about your radios, what radios you've got available to you. I've got a couple of different SSIDs here. I got one that was the default one it shipped with called meter. I've got one I built lab day by packet pushers. And if I drill into that, you can see how that's been configured. What the SSID is, whether it's broadcasting, hidden, or visible, what bands, like I actually defeated 2.4 gigahertz and just left 5. And the authentication method, what VLAN clients that associate to this SSID are going to be placed in, and then other aspects of our Wi-Fi that we might care about. Again, a lot of things that you would expect to see. All the basic functionality is there. And then the PDU is that. It's an intelligent power strip where we can remotely power on and power off plugs, which for a network as a service, Meter really needs that so that they can remotely reboot part of the stack for a piece of hung gear or something like that. These kind of things can happen. Now, if you're noticing that primary is plugged into power plug 1 and MDF01 and power plug 2, you're like, how did it discover that? It didn't discover that. I notated that myself. There's no LLDP magic going across the cables there as far as that goes. Now, all of this gear is talking to home base. It is all talking to Meter's command center, if you will. And if they weren't, some of these icons would be red. I've actually had some issues when I set this up where for a while this network was not plugged into the internet. It couldn't talk to home base, and so they would light up as red. And then when they're back online and the Meter command center can see them, they are green. Okay, so let's move to configuring some basic functionality of this network. Again, it shipped with some items that were pre-configured. There was an SSID and some default VLANs and some other things like that. Let's stand up our own VLAN, one of the most common network engineering tasks that there is. So over here, I'm going to slide down to network wide. I have a bunch of choices here. There's VLANs. All right, let us work on creating a new VLAN. Add VLAN. Now I've got a form to fill out. I'm going to enable this. This is my lab day. Let's call it a VLAN in the name so we actually know exactly what it is. VLAN 5. I can put in, let's make it. Must be an integer between 1 and 49.4. Okay, so it's not going to let you do anything weird. Of course, IP configuration, static. Or none. So do I want there to be an IP configuration in here? Well, yes, I do. 10. Well, I'm going to stick with their scheme. They've already got 2, 3, and 4, VLANs 2, 3, and 4 here. I'm going to just follow in their footsteps. 10.105.0.1/16 Whoops, that's not going to work. They want to put the prefix length down there. There we go. Okay. Enable DHCP server. You can tell it already intelligently figured out what's going on here. Least duration. Oh, I don't want 24 hours. I want let's go aggressive. I want 2 hours. DNS search domains. I don't have any. We can use the gateway as a DNS server. Sure, the gateway, that would be the controller. That is the device called primary that we mentioned earlier. And then inter-VLAN communication is bidirectional. Selecting a VLAN will permit. Okay, so I want to be able to chat with, I don't know, let's see, the private VLAN. Sure. Sounds like I shouldn't be able to talk to the private VLAN, but it's not the guest VLAN. That was VLAN 4. And we're not going to worry about these other things. I'm not going to disable internet access. I'm not worried about MDNS reflection right now. We're just doing the basics here. Let's just set up a VLAN. All right, so now here's my VLAN. My VLAN exists. Now, if I go back to the switch, I can do lots of things here. I can, like, let's assign port 5. If we edit this, there's nothing connected to it. But let's say I want this to be an access port, and I can put lab VLAN 5 in there that I just created. Enable voice VLAN. I don't have any voice stuff on this network, so we're going to disable that. I don't need that support. Oh, here's an interesting feature. I can, several interesting features here. Actually, if I walk from beginning to top to bottom here, I can enable port isolation. I can limit traffic in kilobits per second. So it's got I assume a rate shaper, or maybe a policer. I don't know if it's a shaper or a policer, and then I can schedule when that port's going to be available or not available, which would be really interesting for a conference room. Let's say there's a great application for that. All right, so we're done here. And now if I scroll down, there's my port, and I can see it's been configured as an access port. There's my my lab day VLAN, and we're done here. Okay, that's showing you a VLAN. Pretty basic stuff, but you get a sense of the capability and how easy it is to set that up. Well, let's walk through another very common thing that you might need to do, building an SSID. Well, I don't know if it's that common, because kind of once you got your scheme in place, maybe you got it in place. But still, building SSIDs, that's a thing. It's a thing you're going to need to know how to do, and maybe you're just curious to see what the capabilities are of Meter. Let's do it. So here we're looking at the hardware view of our access point, and it's telling us which SSIDs are being broadcast by this access point, what bands they're on. Let's build a brand new one. Let's say we need one that's just for IoT devices that are within our organization. Okay, scroll down, go to the wireless section, SSIDs, radio profiles, and widths. Okay, SSIDs, let's start with that. And let's build a new SSID. This will be my IoT. And we're going to broadcast that one. We're not going to schedule it. We're going to do, let's say we got some really ancient devices on there. So we're going to allow all the way down to 2 megabits per second, which normally you wouldn't want to do that, right? In this case, because it's IoT, maybe we need that. Maybe there's something really old out there. And we'll go 6 for 5 gigahertz. Again, typically you wouldn't do that. It can tend to bring the throughput of your entire wireless domain down, but we will. We will in this case. Security in VLANs. Okay. Yeah, authentication type. We need some kind of authentication for sure. Let's see. I don't know what we'd want to set for an IoT domain. It would depend a lot on what your clients are capable of course. I'm hesitant to go too lean on the security. You'd have to pick your security profile here, but you saw a whole list of what was available there. Whoops, that's my one password. That's giving me a password. I want to do Meter, give me a password. There we go. Meter just gave me a password. Apologies, my one password was very excited to share a password there. We're not going to auto-rotate password. Select VLAN. Oh, let's put it in our new lab day VLAN. There we go. And the rest of this, Like you just I'm just showing you here what your choices are. You can optional or required for 802.111w, and these would be things specific to your environment and your clients, whether or not you want to set these. You can do fast BSS transition, client steering is supported, and then client isolation is supported, which is interesting for IoT to me, meaning if one client is trying to talk to another client on this SSID, that would be dropped, and that's maybe not what you want in an IoT setting. But if you're thinking like, "Oh, I want to, maximize my security options, you got some good choices here. So okay, we say save, and so we can now see we've got this new SSID called IoT. There it is. The lab day VLAN that it is mapped to, meaning clients that come in on that access point on that specific SSID are going to get mapped into that VLAN. And there's all our characteristics. All right. If I scroll back up to hardware and I look at the access point view and click through on the one AP I've got here, I see I've got two different SSIDs. It's the same SSID, but two different radios that this is broadcast on. And if I go to my Mac's Wi-Fi interface, it's showing me that this is showing up in the air. I'm not going to change to it right now. Well, actually, I can. I can do that because I've got Ethernet on this Mac as well. So if I associate to this IoT, it's going to work. Ooh, I don't know what that password is. Let's see. But I can find out. Hang on. There's the password. Copy. Okay, my Mac won't let me paste it, so I'll just type it. That's fine. My Mac is very protective. Join. It's a good excuse just to see that their Neater is making it easy for you as a network engineer, network support person to be able to help the folks that are remote from you, and you can find answers to them like, "What's the Wi-Fi password?" I don't know. Well, you can go in here and you can look it up and give it to them, and you can share with a QR code. Handy, right? All right, so let's look at what my Mac is seeing now that I've joined IoT. We should be in the 10.105 network, right? Wi-Fi settings, show me the details. There we are. Okay. IP. Yep, we're in the 10.105. That was VLAN 5, and that's the top of the DHCP range. The controller assigned me that, and off we go. Pretty straightforward stuff. Okay, so we have configured an SSID. Let's move on to our next task. So for our next task, let's do something with security. Meter gives you a whole bunch of security features and functions right out of the box. You're not paying extra for them; they're just part of the offering. So you get a bunch of stuff here. Now we're looking at the primary controller, the controller whose name is primary, and this is the physical view. So it's not really telling you much exciting about security in this view. Yeah, you scroll down to the security section, and that's where all that stuff lives. Now where this stuff is enacted is on that physical device called controller. From what I understand from Meter, they're not pushing enforcement out into the switches. That all happens within the controller device, as I understand it. Okay. So for firewall rules, you're seeing the kind of things you would expect to see. There's a bunch of default rules here, and then there's a bunch of things that have been added. Now notice the inter-VLAN communication to lab day VLAN is allowed on this interface because I had set that up when we built that VLAN, if you remember. So that was added, and that is how that is being enforced here in the firewall module. I don't want to do a firewall module. Let's do something more interesting here. Okay, DNS security. Yeah, DNS security is built in here. You can do category blocking and other sorts of blocking here. Name. Let's do a DNS category block. Adult block. There we go. DNS category adult block. That's a dumb name for a rule. I know. And we're going to force this on all VLANs. And target is category, but you can do application and domain. We'll look at that in a minute. But select category. Let's go. You can pick one thing off this list as I played with these building out these rules. You can pick one thing. So and now the one thing off the list I'm going to pick is all the adult categories, whatever they are. I'm gonna block them. and we save. Now we've got a rule in there. Okay. Let's add another rule. And I don't want to do carrier. I want to do application, which I haven't actually looked at yet. Let's say I want to block. Can I block Microsoft Teams? Yes, I can. Why not? Block MS Teams. There we go. Select VLANs. We'll select just on the guest VLAN because, why not? Priority. This can be the second rule on the list. I don't know why you'd want to block Teams because I don't know reasons. Save that. There we go. I'm not going to go through and test all this. You get the idea. I just wanted to expose you that this functionality is here baked right into the box that you having to go to a separate source. Port forwarding is a thing you can do if you're a firewall person. You know what that's all about. Something coming from the internet that needs to hit some box inside your network. You can forward the appropriate ports. You can do one-to-one NATs. If you've got all that external address space, then you can do that. You lucky person with all that address space, which good for you. You can do that. And then MDNS, we have the option to do reflection here. And then MDNS, multicast DNS, you've got some control over what you can do here. There's some limitations. It's not very fancy, but you can do MDNS reflection. And aside from that, you've got pretty limited functionality, but it's there. It's something that has been considered. And then intrusion detection. We've got some network intrusion detection that's set here. Now you're looking at a lot of entries here. I've got a couple of clients that I put on the network just to put something through this little network. So I've got my phone was on for a while. I've got a MacBook over there, and so we've got a few things that have been detected. There's no protect events because I'm not enforcing intrusion detection, and then a whole bunch of categories that were matched. Quick comment about performance when you turn on these additional features like DNS security and intrusion detection. What Meter is telling me is that the way they've engineered the hardware in these boxes is that there is no performance penalty for turning on all of this security functionality. So go nuts. From what Meter is telling me, you're all good. You can't break the boxes. They've been engineered from the ground up to handle these sorts of inspections. The next thing I want to show you is Meter Command. Command is Meter's natural language processing command line, if you will. It's not the command line, right? But if you like to type things into your device and get answers back, this is the modern interpretation of it. With Meter Command, you can do anything that you could do in the dashboard, but in Command. And there's a lot of stuff here. I've been offline playing with Command and really pushing it to see what the limits are, what it can do and what it can't do, and so on. And it is quite a capable tool. I'll also give you a little background that as I was working with Command and ran into some roadblocks, I pinged the Meter team and they coded up fixes like right away and had things working that were struggling before. I mean, so if you're really into Command, if you like the natural language way of interacting with your network and find it doesn't do something you want it to do or doesn't behave like you expect, the team over at Meter is on it. You let them know what's going on and they'll respond quickly. I got a bunch of commands I want to show you so you get a taste of what Command is all about. So I got one sitting in my paste buffer right now, and here we go. Show me the non-Wi-Fi interference in APO1. And if you notice that little thing right there at the end, at APO1, that means I'm scoping this command that I'm putting into Command so that it knows which access point I'm asking about in this case. And so we're discovering what the non-Wi-Fi interference was. Meter is going back into its history and logs and so on, giving me a plain English answer to my plain English question and giving me that data back along with a little bit of an explanation as to what the cause of this non-Wi-Fi interference might be. Useful, interesting, plain English, straightforward answer. Okay, I've got another command in my paste buffer. I'm going to stick with the wireless theme for a minute and ask about SSID security. So I'm going to turn the filter off. I don't want to scope it. I want to know, based on the existing settings of my SSIDs, how can I make them more secure? And then list some recommendations per SSID. And let's see what command comes back with for me. Okay, it built a chart of my security settings, and it's giving me recommendations here. The guest SSID, no encryption specified. Yep. And client isolation is enabled, and that's a good thing, it's telling me, and so on. So these are several different SSIDs I've created while working with Meter, some of those you've seen in this video. And as I sanity check these SSID by SSID, this is all accurate. Off the top of my head, this is all telling me exactly what I expect Meter to be telling me. So this is all valid. Now, something else I want to show you here. If I scroll back up, you see this chart. There's a party trick here that is really useful. If you look over to the right in this big empty space with the dots, there's nothing there, right? But if I hit this plus sign, yeah, look at that. I can begin to build a dashboard if I liked this information, and I could build a custom dashboard for myself out of different elements that command might generate for me. Pretty cool. Okay, let's do yet another command. Okay, here's our next command. I have said, give me a list of all clients in a particular subnet, and then filter it by a particular manufacturer, the manufacturer meaning being the Raspberry Pi Foundation. Because I have a Raspberry Pi I had sitting around that I plugged into the Meter network just so I'd have something so I could do tests like this. Let's see what command comes back with for us. Yep, there's the one I'm expecting. It gave me the MAC address. Tells me that the name column is not populated for this entry. And that's interesting because there isn't anything there. There isn't a particular device name or host name associated with it. So there isn't a name as such. But what I like about this is that command tells me, hey, I know you asked for the name. There isn't a value for a name in this case. There's nothing I'm putting in the name column. And so I know you asked for it, but I don't have that information. And that makes me confident. It knows what I asked for. It was interested. It wanted to fulfill it. Didn't have that information, and let me know that. As opposed to, so here's what my concern would be if it hadn't done that. There's an LLM sitting there, a large language model, artificial intelligence, and for whatever reason, it just ignored my request for the device name. Instead, it's telling me, "Yeah, I know you asked for the name, and I don't have that information. It's not there. It's not something I wasn't able to populate." Oh, okay. So you know what I asked, you just weren't able to do it. Cool. That gives me some trust that the LLM is parsing the command that I put in and handling it to the very best of its ability, even if it's unable to do it for whatever its limitation is. So another command feature, I find this really interesting. Another command feature here is the fact that it doesn't know merely about its network and things it can pull from statistics and charts and that kind of stuff. It also has general network knowledge. Okay, let me paste this in. You can see what I mean. I'm going to ask it about a feature I know about called storm control. Some of the networks I've administrated, we've used this feature. Storm control is a means of throttling certain kinds of traffic on a switch port. So if you don't want broadcast traffic, let's say, to go above a certain percentage of the interface bandwidth, you can put a storm control percentage on it and say, hey, if you see broadcast traffic past 10%, whatever the number is that's correct for your network, drop it. And that can help maintain network control in certain situations, certain bad things happening on the network. You can do that for multicast and unknown unicast traffic. Hey, just like I'm telling you what it is, and it says it right here. And that's my point. Meter is actually telling me the model has been trained to understand what storm control is, and explains it to you. So you've got knowledge here that is about networking broadly and not unique and specific to the Meter network because of telemetry ingestion. Now, the model also knows, if you look at where it says regarding the packet pushers trial network, which is the name of this Meter network, storm control is currently not enabled, but I could configure it. So it's telling me that, yeah, it's there. It's a thing that you could do. And I suppose we could dig in further if we wanted to, but I just wanted to show you that command has knowledge about networking beyond getting statistics back. And I think that's a really, really cool feature. Another thing you can do with command is build dashboards. That is a set of information, views, if you will, that certain people care about, maybe others not so much, but you can build a bunch of custom ones, and I want to do one right now for my director. So let's call this my IT director view. And let's build a whole series of things that my director might care about. So I got IT director view up here. The view I had before, default notebook, is down below. Now I can just pick it off the list. And let's start with display a graph of network topology. Okay, that's very straightforward. There's the topology. I've got a summary here of what's going on. And let's add that to the canvas. Press the plus sign. There it is. We'll worry about the layout in a minute. I also want to see the WAN utilization for at primary. Now, remember that at, when you're using command, tells command, you're basically scoping, you're giving it more specific information so that it knows a little more context about what you're asking it to do. So show me WAN utilization for primary being the security device, the controller, the gateway for this particular network. It's the firewall, it's it's a lot of things in the meter world. And yeah, so I've got the device, its name is primary. I know, not the most original name, but we're seeing WAN utilization. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted it to tell me. Okay. I'm going to add that to the canvas. Very good. Like I told you, we'll worry about layout in a minute. There's that tempting auto layout button. I know you see it. I know it's calling to you. We'll press it. I promise we'll press it. But I want to add more stuff. Show me all the audit logs, but do not include the username column. So this is from experience here. There's stuff in the audit logs, including a username column, that would maybe give away more information than we want to in this view. So I want it to build a table of the audit logs that doesn't include that username, because normally it would be right there to the left, and it would include email addresses, things that would be identifiable, and maybe we don't want to see that because it's, I don't know, it's a YouTube video that's going out to the world, so I don't want a bunch of email addresses showing up. We can add that. What else have we got? Show me a list of connected clients. Sure. I don't know why my director would care about that. Probably wouldn't, but I don't need it to scope to primary. I'm going to just delete that while I'm thinking about it. Show me a list of connected clients. Notice I'm asking the question a little different each way. Mostly I'm just demonstrating that it understands what you're saying, or it's doing its best to understand what you're saying, what you're asking for. And we don't have a lot of clients here, but that of the 2 clients that I have connected to the meter network at the moment, that's both of them. There we go. We add that, and we're going to press it. I promise. We're going to press the auto layout button. But one more command first. Display AP health metrics for that specific access point, AP01, because we can. AP01, it's telling me a whole bunch of different metrics that are health related. I like it. And it summarizes those for me, but I've got them in the chart as well. Let's add that. That's enough. That's enough stuff. Let's press auto layout and see what we got. I don't actually know how good this is going to work. Let's try it. Oh, okay. So it cleaned things up a bit. And I can zoom out in, drag it around. That's not bad. Look at that. I got a list of logs. I got all the different information that I asked for. It's laid out pretty. Okay, that's a good starting point for my IT director view. I could keep I could keep adding to this if I wanted. I can use this information to scope things differently. This is live. I mean, this is real stuff that's happening right now. It's a live view of what's going on. Pretty cool. Here's another thing you can do with meter command. Anything that you can do in the main dashboard, you can do in command, I guess. So where I'm going here is, like, you want to create things, you want to delete things in command. Yeah, you can do it. I kind of teased you at the top of this segment that hey, you miss your CLI. You don't like going clicky in the user interface. Okay, well, you can come to command, use natural language, and get it done. So here's a for example. create an SSID, and I give it a name and no password and so on and so on. I give it all these specifications about how to create this SSID. Now, this is a very simple example. I mean, there's more parameters you could feed in and get this job done. But think of this like, what if you were writing a Python script and calling an API, which, as I understand, you can do with Meter, but you don't need to. You can just do it like this, and it generates a form that's got the things I care about here. I asked it about 2.4 and 5 gigahertz radios. There, those both are. I don't have to enable it, but I want to. That was implicit in my command. I didn't say guest network, but it inferred I wanted it to be a guest network because of the name of it, which I think is intriguing. But it doesn't have to be that way. If you wanted it to behave in a particular way, and didn't want it to behave like a wireless guest network, that is an option you could disable. Hidden would be, is it broadcast over the airwaves or not? Do I want to isolate clients from one another so that they can't use this to talk to one another? And then what do I want to call the SSID? Well, I told it in the my query guest SSID. It's mapping it to the VLAN I asked it to map it to. 6 gigahertz radio is not selected, etc. Now it's saying enable on all radios, and I didn't give it any instructions on that, but it's something that we need to know. So yeah, I need to enable that. If I don't enable that, I'm not going to see this in the air. If there are other fields in the form that I want to see, I click here, all kinds of stuff here. I mean, what do you want to set? What do you want to know? What do you want to do? There's all kinds of granularity here. We're just doing a simple example, but just to show you that, are you a Wi-Fi person with very particular needs and how you configure your SSIDs? That's all there. All right, I'm going to click submit. Now this should break because guest-SSID already exists. So let's see what happens. Now it's warning me that we're going to do the thing. You ready to do the thing? Yeah, I'm ready to do the thing. Execute. Go for it. Failed to submit form. Failed because an SSID with the same name already exists. We didn't change anything. Tried, can't. Okay. So I can go back to my form. So we've added this to the canvas now, and I can resubmit this. Guest SSID 2. Let's enable it for my APs. Sure. Click submit, and this should work. It's asking me again, are you sure? I'm very sure. Successfully submitted form. There we go. It's done. All right. Now show me all SSIDs. Okay, so there's my new one. It's showing that it's enabled. So I don't want that one anymore. So let's just delete it. Delete. I don't know if it's case sensitive. Let's see what it does. Delete guest SSID 2. I didn't put an @ in front of it. I don't know what it's going to do. Let's try this. Close enough. So delete an SSID. It's giving me a form. Please use the form displayed above. Okay, so I can give it guest SSID 2, which is the one I want to delete. I hit submit. It's asking me, I'm going to do it. You want me to do it? Do it. Select successfully submitted. It's deleted. Everybody got booted if they were connected to that SSID. And now you just, next time you do that, you be careful, okay? Because you did the thing. Okay, so let me show me all SSIDs. Ask it again. What have we got? Okay, and I don't have the guest 2 SSID again. It's gone. So you get the idea. We can create objects, we can delete objects. It's giving me back information about what's happening as it's going on. This is a CLI experience, but it's a CLI experience that is different from if you're coming from a Juniper or a Cisco background where you're used to that CLI and you've got tab completion and hints and all of that, and you have to know the exact command to do the exact thing. This is the future. I really believe that the way we go forward with network configuration and command lines is this or something very much like this, where in plain English, you tell the system what it wants, it knows contextually what you're looking for, and it walks you through the process so that you can build the thing you're trying to build without having to know all the esoteric commands in your head or go through a vendor cookbook that walks you through each and every step. This is where we need to be going long term. Networks are getting increasingly complex. This simplifies some of that complexity because you're backed by a model that understands what you're trying to get done and puts you in a situation where you can successfully complete the task, even if you individually may not know every single detail to get it accomplished. So the last thing I want to show with Meter's command is, I'm going to put it this way. I think this is not fair. I'm going to put a command in that I don't think is a very nice thing to do to the LLM. I'm going to give it a request to configure a connection to a network it's not currently configured to, and just see what it says. Is it able to establish enough context to know that I need a routing configuration and I don't know, whatever else it comes up with, or maybe a VPN configuration. Let's see what it tells me. I've asked it about something called the packet herders network that I need to connect to, and how would I do that? Recommend a configuration that would allow this meter network and the packet herders network to communicate with one another. And I've told it that the packet herder network can be plugged directly into the meter network behind the firewall. So what has it given me here? So it's given me a form to create a static route, which is that is within Meter's capability. Like, Meter doesn't do OSPF or BGP today. BGP is on the roadmap, but it's not a feature of the network today. So yeah, static routes. I would need to do a static route. It gave me a destination prefix that matches what I told it the IP range was. It doesn't know a gateway IP because how would it know? I'd need to configure that and know what the destination IP is to send traffic for that network to. So that makes sense. I've enabled the route. I would via this form. I've got a nice summary of what that is. That is a very logical one. It's the connection to the packet herders network. Very nice. That's good. That is absolutely solid. And now we've got a text summary explaining what's going on here to allow the packet herders network to communicate. Behind the firewall, you can configure a network connection by setting up routing and firewall rules. And so it's doing some thoughtful things that maybe we care about, maybe we don't, depending on the specific situation. This is pretty good. I gotta say, this is pretty all right. It inferred a lot of information from what was a pretty short description of what's going on here and how it interpreted this to come up with this answer. That's a heck of a starting point, even if it isn't exactly right for our situation. And it actually might be. That form might be exactly enough. If we had configured a link and had a gateway IP address that we could connect to, we'd have to do a bit more configuration on our site with like a VLAN or something like that. But that's not bad. That is not bad at all. So for something I think that was not fair, it's not a 100% complete solution, but command did pretty good. And really zeroing in on the static route is like this, that is the core of the thing that would need to be achieved to connect to the network here. So well done, command. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Meter has got an awful lot to offer, and there's a bunch of stuff I didn't talk about, to be fair. Just quickly highlighting a number of things that we haven't even gone through. Routing, I mentioned routing. We've got static routes, of course, available to us. Policy-based routing is there, which I think is interesting. Again, OSPF, BGP not there. Today, BGP is on the roadmap for a dynamic routing protocol. We can perform rate limiting. Radius is supported here. We can do a captive portal for our certain SSIDs if we want to do that. We've got all kinds of different SSID features here. We've walked through some of those, and we can set a variety of radio profiles to apply to various SSIDs. We've got wireless intrusion detection is in there. There's a full-blown firewall here. There are a lot of default rules or rules that were created because of things that happened when I built a VLAN and set certain parameters. Some of these rules were put in place there. I've mentioned DNS security, and we showed about blocking certain categories and how that might work. Port forwarding, like you've been used to on a lot of different devices. One-to-one NAT, if you had a lot of IP addresses to play with, of course. How to handle multicast DNS, very common on really a lot of different networks, and one of those things you need to have control of. What VLANs are you flooding MDNS requests into, and so on. Network intrusion detection is here. A whole lots of things that we can see are detected. Makes sense that it's seeing Spotify, P2P client. Yeah, I'm running Spotify on one of the devices that is connected to the meter network right now, so it makes sense that it would be seeing those sorts of things. For rack management, do you want to be able to map out exactly what your racks look like for your meter device or other devices that you have in the network? Yeah, you can punch those all in here to your rack elevations section. Floor plans are supported. This is something that if you engage meter to go to a site, perform a site survey for wireless access point placement, let's say, all those floor plans and radiation patterns for the different radios would show up in here. You can do client VPN supported. IPsec, of course, is supported. So there's a whole lot of features here that we didn't demo that are really anything you're going to need for basic connectivity, security. It's all here in one solution. In addition, we talked at length about command, and command allows you to configure any of those things that you wish to configure via that natural language interface. Think of that as the new CLI. That's your CLI. Another feature called Connect here that I barely talked about. Meter will shop for a circuit for you and manage getting that installed if you want Meter to do that. That's part of their network as a service function that they offer. Meter is really again, network as a service. It's a rich, full featured offering that if you're coming from the Cisco world or the Juniper world and you really think about things in terms of routing protocols and features, and it's like, I'm looking for, EVPN, VXLAN, I need to do this, I need to do that, I need secure group tags, I need MACsec, I need, whatever you need. Look, is every feature in under the sun that's been created by the networking community over the last 30 to 40 years available in Meter today? No. Is all of the basic functionality you need so that you can run a robust, secure, scalable network that is really just handled for you and managed by and large by the Meter team without you having to worry about what version of NaaS is this switch running and do I have to secure it and get it up? You get to hand all of that stuff off to Meter and end up with a nice clean interface that you can use to manage a whole bunch of remote offices in a very easy way from anywhere, and with a really slick interface that you get the command natural language interface into. And there's also a full API here. You can use, again, we didn't talk about that, but Meter's briefed me on that. That's there. So there's a lot to offer here from Meter. And if you're in a situation with networks at your various offices where I just need to get networking done, it just needs to work, and I don't need anything super complicated, this is your answer. This is a place to actually go. And what's interesting here, again, spent a lot of time chatting with the Meter team. They're not done. This is a mature offering. This isn't the end of the offering. There is more coming. There's a long roadmap that they've got ahead of them. And they've told me they're going whole hog on this thing. They're going to be in the data center. They're going to be offering full big bandwidth kinds of offerings here. A lot more switch hardware coming to market. There's a lot more happening with Meter. It's like, oh, okay, so I use Meter if I got like small office stuff and I need some simple connectivity. I mean, today, maybe that's how you think of them, but there's a lot more on offer coming. So don't sleep on this. Don't go, well, I have a new data center build and Meter's not going to be able to meet that need, so I'm not interested. talk to Meter and tell them exactly what you're trying to do and see where they're going and when. More is coming quickly. They are a very well-funded startup and they want your business. They are worth talking to. If what I demonstrated is interesting to you, you should go talk to Meter.